Hey guys, Pickle here. Want to tell you about our 2018 draft loadout, which is going to be packed full of fantasy football help and knowledge to make you successful at your fantasy football draft as well as in season. You can get your pre-order currently on the Average Joe Nation via our Patreon account. Make sure you sign up there and get yourself pre-ordered. All right, let's get into today's show.
Welcome, Average Joe Nation from around the globe. Props to you for staying up to date and keeping in the know. With fantasy football, man, very soon you'll reign. The knowledge that these three guys have, man, it is insane. Fantasy football talk, hateful eight, they wear the crown. Hold it down, Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli, hold it down. Pulling up to LB Design Studio, we're getting loud. Season 2, headphones on, red light go, break it down.
Welcome back. This is the Hateful Eight Fantasy Football Podcast with your host. I'm Pickle, and with me only today, Trimboli.
What's going on?
I don't feel like I can use the as always anymore because apparently it's not as always.
I know.
No, Trimboli is here with me today. Blackburn is off due to some last-minute family commitments that arise.
He's on assignment.
he's hanging out in NFL lockers right now, looking like a linebacker, trying to make the team so we can get some inside information.
I think he's still hungover from the draft. I mean,
dude, that was a good time. I will say that. That's probably the most fun I've had watching an NFL draft in a while. But we were having good times laughing about different picks and stuff. So, but yeah, this week we will be doing our normal fantasy football news, and but the topic of the day is our discussion of rookie relevance, specifically to the rookie, like to the redraft, not dynasty or your rookie drafts that you're adding players to your dynasty. This is literally redraft, so every year you're not keeping the guy. So guys like Alvin Kamara last year was a rookie relevant comment guy that we talked about, Deshaun Watson. So guys that you can draft in your yearly not keeper or dynasty leagues for this year specifically is who we're going to be talking about. So, but specifically it's going to be our best, worst, sleeper type is where we've broke them down. But yeah, as always, don't forget to follow the show's Facebook and Twitter accounts at the Hateful 8FF. And anything else before we get into the news?
that's all I got.
All right, let's get into that fantasy news and notes.
Fantasy news and notes.
All right, fantasy news and notes presented by Body Armor Super Drink, superior hydration for today's athletes. Check them out at drinkbodyarmor.com, or you can stop at any one of your local stores. Specifically, gas stations have tons of them now.
Yeah.
So
I'll get mine at Kroger.
I know. I usually get mine if I've run out here. I go get them at Kroger's. The best deal they got them. So, but yeah. So, not going to talk about a whole lot of the specific like player by player draft picks. But the big one that we did want to mention is that obviously everyone who's watched or been not under a rock for the past week, Baker Mayfield did end up going number 1 overall in the 2018 NFL draft, which is just beyond me. I mean, weeks ago you would have never even pegged that. Everybody, it was Darnold guarantee. Right. Maybe Rosen or maybe Josh Allen. It was never. It was either either Josh Allen, Josh Rosen, or Sam Darnold. Baker Mayfield was never even in the talks.
Right.
I mean, it was Jets. I mean, that's everything we were even saying because that's all we had heard is that's why the Jets moved up to 3 was to get Baker Mayfield. They knew they weren't going to get him where they were sitting initially. So, I honestly, I'll just be honest with you. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of teams thought that. I mean, New England is rumored to have wanted to trade up to 2 to get him.
That's what I heard today. So, but I mean, the biggest thing for me with Baker Mayfield, what stuck out is the organization that drafted the front office and whatnot for the Browns were also a part of the draft for Brett Favre with the Packers. Now, obviously, the Packers did not draft Brett Favre. He got drafted by the Falcons, but they were in that organization that really liked him. So I think they said that there was a lot of similarities, the charisma, the attitude, the way he carries himself, and just general interviews, and just overall how he's a confident guy with a little bit of cockiness. Not too much that's going to get him in trouble, but enough to kind of rally the troops whenever they're down type thing. So I like it. I mean, now I will say the fact that they went and got a mobile quarterback, and I wouldn't say like a Lamar Jackson mobile quarterback, but Baker Mayfield is athletic enough that he can run the ball if he has to, but that's not his main game.
Right.
You essentially have Tyrod Taylor, who's the exact same, in my opinion, who is can be a mobile quarterback, but also can beat you with his arm if he has to, which is what he wants to do, but he can't beat you with his legs if he has to.
Right.
And he did it in Buffalo the past couple years.
Which if Mayfield's probably going to sit behind Taylor anyways.
I agree.
He could learn from him it's a lot better situation than what the Ravens are trying to do with Lamar Jackson sitting behind Flacco when it's a totally different style.
Well, I think the fact that they brought in RG3, then moved in to draft Lamar Jackson at the end of the first round tells me that they're trying to transition to more mobility in the quarterback position. Not that Flacco and RG3 are very much different in mobility now that RG3's got several injuries, but the concept of the zone read, the RPOs, I know we talk about that, the run pass option type offense seems to be the new trend of the NFL starting to kind of bloom. So, and
it's just crazy to think that. I know we're off topic here, but crazy to think Lamar Jackson might actually see more playing time than any of these other guys.
That's possible. I mean, now I do think that Josh Allen will eventually be the quarterback before week 1. I would be very hard to believe that they moved up to get him and not play him over McCarron. Now, I'm not saying that he's going to be handed the job, but I'm saying I think they want him to win the job because nothing against McCarron, but I think that McCarron is what he is. He is not a game winner. He's a game manager. He's never had to be the winner in any offense that he's played in. In college in Alabama, he did not have to be the winner. He had a great defense and good run game, and he just had to make sure he didn't make any bad throws.
Right.
And Cincinnati, when he did play, it wasn't like he went out there, he had to go win the games. He actually won the game for them. It was the defensive players that killed them in that game.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm just saying, you know what you're getting with A.J. McCarron, where Josh Allen, you know what you're getting. You're getting a big athletic quarterback who's just going to be able to throw the ball miles. And Buffalo really doesn't have a whole lot of passing game. That's my concern.
Right. Well, that's why you're hoping he sits. I heard he's got to learn the offense, and I heard that's not his strong suit.
No. So, I don't know. I just think that
He's only 20.
My only concern with Baker Mayfield, I think he should sit, but he's the number 1 overall quarterback, and the last person to do that as a number 1 overall pick quarterback-wise was Carson Palmer. That's the last person as a number 1 overall quarterback that sat his first year.
You see how his career went?
Right. So I'm just saying, if Hugh is smart and the front office, Dorsey and all them can figure out and say, hey, how long can we hold off Mayfield? Problem is, Mayfield, and what they loved about him was his competitive nature, his charisma, his attitude. I don't know how long he survives on the bench.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm not saying that he wouldn't. I mean, if he needs to do it, if he's truly going to be the guy of the future, he's going to learn a way to have to be the best clipboard holder and rah guy for Tyrod Taylor that he can be. I just don't know how long they can really hold him off. He's like that dog in the yard. It's just like eventually the chain's going to break and he's going to get loose. And once he does, he's going to wreak havoc. And for a good reason, though.
Well, also, if the team's not really doing as well as they thought they were going to do, they're going to see what they got in Mayfield.
Right. I think there's more pressure right now on Tyrod Taylor than there is Baker Mayfield. Because I think if Baker Mayfield wasn't the one they picked and they picked a Josh Rosen or a Josh Allen, a less mobile, less athletic type quarterback without the persona or the personality that Baker Mayfield brings in, I think Tyrod's not got as a hot seat. I think he's got a little bit more leeway, a little bit more in that. So, anyways, I do think it was the right pick though overall for Cleveland to make there.
They got their guy.
They got their guy. Now taking Ward. Don't get me wrong, I love Denzel Ward, big Buckeye fan, loved him. I just think that they must have got that word that before they made another pick sometime that nobody wanted to move back, and they thought if whoever they were going to move back, because there was talks they were going to move out of the 4th pick backwards. My thing is I think that they probably didn't think that they were going to get him at 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 is my best guess, because he was averaging out somewhere around 10 to 12, and I just think that they thought somebody's going to sneak in here and take him, and we're not going to have that press coverage guy, which is what they want. They want a press coverage corner.
Right.
And they don't have that right now.
Well, they said that their DNs now were not the issue last year. They said that they were getting to the quarterback at a pretty quick pace. The problem was that the corners weren't allowing or have enough coverage on the guys. They were just open too quick.
True.
So the quarterback was just releasing it to them. They're open. So what they thought was by getting the corner, maybe that will add that press coverage you're looking for, and then allow the DNs then to do what they were drafted to do.
Right. So, I mean, I know a lot of people gave them flack. I mean, we were kind of initially sitting there. I mean, I think Denzel Ward is a good pick.
Right.
At the time when you're looking at it, you're like, why would you take a lockdown corner at 4? But on the flip side, I know that I'm not – please don't think that I'm putting him in the same context as Deion Sanders, but Deion Sanders is a lockdown corner. There's not many lockdown corners in the NFL. Yeah. There's corners who can cover for 3 to 5 seconds, and then there's corners like Revis when he was in his prime who just shut down the whole side of the field and Sherman and all those guys when they were in their prime could just shut down the whole side of the field. You just didn't throw. Patrick Peterson, I mean, he gets a little bit more shots at him now that he's a little bit older, but when he was in that prime spot, he shut down the whole side of the field, and that makes your defense even easier. I mean, you're only covering 3/4 of the field now,
right?
So the whole field. So,
Yep.
But yeah, so next one, Panthers and tight end Greg Olsen do agree to a 2-year extension. The extension is worth $7.1 million over a 2-year span, and I think it's a good thing because Cam Newton does still have his security blanket.
Oh, yeah. And Olsen's made it clear he wants to remain in Carolina.
Right. It's either Carolina or the booth is his two options, and I don't think he essentially I think he decided against whatever. I think he thinks that this team can make some noise in the playoffs, potentially make a Super Bowl run, and I think he doesn't want to live the Tiki Barber life and realize that the year you retired, following year you retired, they go to the Super Bowl and win one. I mean, Tiki Barber was that close to winning a Super Bowl.
Yep.
He retires, the next year Giants go to the Super Bowl, win it. I mean, that close. I mean, that's something that would literally frustrate you, especially knowing how much body work you put into that team. But
you don't get the years back, so.
No. So we'll see. Now, speaking of, I mean, we don't have, I don't think it's on here, but the issue with Jason Witten potentially retiring or not retiring, I will just say it's not on our notes, but ultimately, I, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, would love to see him play one more year, obviously. But on the flip side, I will be honest with you, I don't think Dallas, unless something changes, I don't think Dallas has a Super Bowl caliber team this year. So why would you put yourself through another year of the ringer, the grind, as a veteran of that many, of 16 some years? I think he's 15 or 16 years right now. So that's a lot of years, and it's a lot on his body, and that's a lot of wear and tear. And at this point, you've got a Hall of Fame career. The jacket's just waiting on you once you retire. It's just you just have to wait that time frame to get it. But he is a Hall of Famer, first ballot in my opinion. But
I agree with you. It's just hard. It's hard for these guys to walk away from the game. This is what they know. It's what they're good at. This is their craft.
The only reason why I think he has, it seems to be reporting more so leaning him towards retiring, is the fact that it's the Monday Night Football job is what everybody's hearing. And if it's the Monday Night Football job, that doesn't come around very often. It's not like it's nothing against Tony Romo. It's not like the CBS gig or the Fox gig on Sunday with Troy Aikman and them. It's Monday Night Football. Everybody knows Monday Night Football. Everybody from when you're a toddler watching football, you always remember Monday Night Football. I mean, now in this generation, they know Thursday night, Sunday night is the big things as well. But Monday Night Football has been the thing for NFL for years. I mean, so
he'd be going from the prime time to the prime time.
He would, and it would be less time. He'd only have to be gone. I think they said like 3 to 4 times, like 3 days out of the week, which is not a big deal when you're traveling West Coast and everything else, and you're gone for weeks on end. So I say take the money and run with it.
I mean, I agree with you on that, but like I said, you never know what these guys are going to do.
Yeah, so we'll see. But next one, Rams trade wide receiver Tavon Austin to the Cowboys for a 6th-round draft pick during the draft. After the Cowboys missed out on some bigger names, they ended up getting Tavon Austin, which I think is a good thing because everything I'm hearing, he is essentially going to be, they're wanting to use him kind of in like that Lance Dunbar spot with like the pass-catching wide receiver running back hybrid that they just haven't had the past couple years post-Lance Dunbar.
The Rams were going to do that if they end up keeping him.
Right. I mean, I think both teams were just looking, that's what we're going to do. We're just going to make you the hybrid wide receiver running back type guy. But ultimately, I think it's a good thing for the Cowboys, and I think it's a good thing for Tavon Austin. And I just think that this is going to be better for overall for both sides. So I'm excited about that, at least.
Listen, with a name like Tavon Austin, you got to be in Dallas.
Yeah, we got to be in Dallas.
You have to be.
So, and the next one, I know this sounds Cowboy heavy. I did not make these notes up, but
sure he didn't.
But the Cowboys did trade wide receiver Switzer to the Raiders for the defensive lineman from the Raiders, Ward. I think Blackburn making these notes, he did say the addition of Austin made Switzer a little bit more expendable, which I understand. I'm just surprised. Everything I was hearing was it was going to be Terrence Williams or Cole Beasley were the two guys that I kept hearing his name coming up veteran-wise with Dallas that they were going to get rid of because Switzer they just drafted and they were trying to build that. And I mean, I feel like Beasley and Switzer were kind of the same guy, just different years, age-wise within the season, within the NFL. So that's why I kept hearing Beasley's name coming up and Terrence Williams' name's coming up, which I still hear Terrence Williams' name could be potentially a camp cut at some point, which is crazy to think. But
because what do they? I mean,
well, we'll get into that.
They're going to run out of options.
Well, they've got some options, but it'll be interesting. So, but yeah, I think it's a good thing. I'm bummed to see Switzer leave. But ultimately, I think it's a good spot for him because the Raiders don't really have a true kind of hybrid guy like that guy. I mean, honestly. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he can do special teams. He can also do line up in the slot. He can be whatever you need him to come out of the backfield. He's got all that. So, and then some fifth-year options that were picked up. Trey Waynes for the Vikings, Demarius Randall for the Browns, and then wide receiver Nelson Aguilar from the Eagles was also picked up, which is a good thing. So, I mean, big name. I mean, nothing really major. Dez Bryant is still unemployed at the moment.
Yeah.
But he's not completely hurting for money because he is still guaranteed that $8 million from the Dallas, regardless. Which,
Hey, yeah, he just got a glowing endorsement from T.O. saying that he would be a good teammate.
well,
And a model
and I
citizen
know
inside the locker
in
room.
our group text, I have made the comment that I just said this. I swear, like 24 to 48 hours ago, I said that Dez Bryant is literally this generation's T.O.
Yep.
For good or for bad. T.O.'s in the Hall of Fame, so it can't be too horrible. But I will say, Dez Bryant, wherever he goes, he's going to need a veteran quarterback and a veteran coach. He does not need a Sean McVay with a Jared Goff.
Right.
I'm just saying, it's nothing against. It's not that I think that there's anything wrong with Jared Goff or McVay. I have high praise for them. I just know that Dez comes with a lot of mouth, a lot of attitude, and he's not that he's disruptive in the locker room, but I don't know. Have you watched any of the All or Nothing so far?
I have not.
I literally watched the first like 25 minutes when they were talking about the practice when they were getting ready to go play game one post whatever it was, and there was a wide receiver room, and Dez is like, he literally calls out the wide receiver coach like in the middle of the conversation, right in the middle of like them showing routes and stuff. He's just like, Coach, why are you? He goes, why can't we get no praise? Why can't we get no praise? He goes, why is it always about, hey, if you don't do this, they're gonna beat you. If you don't do that, he goes, we know these guys, we're good. Oh, it was before the Denver game, which
Gotcha.
by the way, they got their stuff handed
Yeah.
to them. So, anyways, I'm just saying, I knew right that moment, and then we all know now the future what entails of him being cut. But I could just tell you right now, I wouldn't want to deal with that on a daily basis. That drains you, and I'm just saying, and I love Dez. Don't get me wrong. I'm a Dallas fan. I love Dez when he was in Dallas, and I'll be rooting for him for wherever he goes. But ultimately, eventually, it comes down to worth versus problem. If you are worth your problem that you are, great. They're going to keep you around as long as it's possible. If you're producing and doing what you're supposed to do on the field and having great years, I could care less if you're a mouthy guy and running your mouth, talking trash, whatever, getting into frustration arguments with players on the field or coaches' faces, whatever. Believe me, Jerry Jones, of all people, will make excuses for you. Yeah. However, when good old daddy Jerry Jones makes the point that, hey, when he puts his foot down and he tells you it's over, it's over. I mean, he's the final say. He is literally the judge, the jury, everything. He is final cut. Sorry, goodbye. And we all know that Dez and him were like BFFs. He loved Dez, like he said, like a son. But ultimately, as he said on his radio show, on I think it was like 105.3 in Texas and ESPN, the local ESPN, or 103.5. I'm sorry if I'm butchering either one of them. If you're in like Idaho, 103.5 or whatever. Anyways, but
they're no longer going to listen to us.
Right. He made it very clear. He said, nothing personal, all business. Which, on the flip side, you hear Dez, it's all personal, not business. I think Dez ultimately settles with a quarterback that's a veteran and a veteran coach that's right on the cusp of winning something special, and just needs that one guy to kind of put them over the hump. I mean, Houston would be perfect for him. You got Hopkins, who's going to dictate all the coverage, and then you've got Fuller, who's going to be your deep threat. Dez can kind of sit in between routes, but I don't know. I mean, they have Braxton Miller drafted wide receiver as well. I'm just saying, I just feel like his availability is small. I don't want to go too much farther into it. His availability, what teams he can go to and what teams will take him, is very small. And essentially, this is what I said was going to happen.
Well, see, what about Green Bay?
Green Bay, but they just took a couple. They just took a wide receiver, or two of them.
Oh, I know.
But I'm just saying, are you really going to do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to want to put up with that?
Well, no, but think of who could put up with him. Like, who could handle Dez?
Well,
you're going to need a big, like Tom Brady kind of.
I don't think Tom Brady would survive.
Well, I think he'd chew him up.
I think he would.
Because it's his way or the highway.
Well,
you need that kind of quarterback, I think.
Right. I just think somebody who's dealing with a current diva wide receiver like, I don't know, Eli Manning is pretty set right now. I think he could deal with it. But ultimately, I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. So, all right. Well, that's enough about some, as we'll call it, the Cowboys fantasy news and notes for the day. But, man. Anyway, so we'll get into the next segment, which is going to be our rookie relevance. So let's go ahead and get into that.
Fantasy Draft Table.
All right. Fantasy Draft Table presented by Fantasy Fate Ball. The one and only Magic 8-Ball for fantasy football. 20 custom answers to help you make those critical start-sit decisions in the Sunday morning agony. Head over to fantasyfateball.com. Use our promo code HATEFUL8 for $5 off your purchase. So this week specifically, rookie relevance in perspective of the, like we said, the redraft format. So we're not talking about your dynasty guys where you're taking Saquon 1.01 type thing. We're talking about guys that are including in the redraft like Ezekiel Elliott, David Johnson, all those running backs, Antonio Brown, all those guys. Talking about all those guys, throwing in now the rookies into your redraft league where you can kind of expect them. They're based on the post-draft, their best, their worst, and some sleepers. Now I will say we did have one of our guys on Sleeper Pot asked us, his boss up asked if we thought that Geis's slipping to the Redskins when he did will affect anything when it comes to fantasy football this year specifically. At least in my opinion, I know Blackburn was thinking that was one of Blackburn's best guys actually.
Right.
That we were going to talk. He was going to talk about. But essentially, what I think him falling to the Redskins is a good thing for him and the Redskins because it does not affect Chris Thompson, in my opinion, because he's a different type of back. He's more of your kind of backfield, catch out of the backfield, kind of that wide receiver, running back hybrid type of guy. But I think that Samaje Perine and his fumble woes and his uncertainty of whatever he's bringing to the table, because I don't think anybody knows what he's bringing to the table, even him. And then you got Fat Rob, who's coming off of injury, and he's not been consistent. So right. I just think Gruden is looking for somebody to be consistent and be a bell. I'm not saying that they need to be the bell cow where they're running the ball as much as Ezekiel Elliott did his rookie year, or David Johnson when he got the ball rolling once he got the turn. I'm just saying I think they were looking for somebody that they needed that they could rely on every down if they had to.
Well, and I think they got the running back they wanted from the get-go.
Right.
And then him sliding, though, here is not an effect on his fantasy part because he's going to a scheme and to a team set up for him.
Right. They're going to use him the way that they want to and what they want. Gruden's going to find a way to use him in a more traditional power type offense. So
yeah, the only time I worry about when guys slide like that on their fantasy output is if they go to a team that I don't think he's going to fit.
Right, and he does. I think he fits perfectly, and I think he's going to supplant step over the two running backs that are currently in the same kind of format of style, not named Chris Thompson. So
he's probably going to be your starter.
Yeah, I'd be very surprised if he's not starting by week 1.
Right.
So, all right. So for us, my best this year is going to be Royce Freeman, the running back out of Oregon. So. Current ADP right now, he is going as the running back 49 and as the 12.05 in a 10-team draft. So just before your kicker defenses, which is not bad at all. So some of the notes that I made for it, he did rush for over 5,000 yards and 60 rushing touchdowns in his career at Oregon, which is no simple feat by any means. Now, who would have been his biggest competition this year is C.J. Anderson, who's no longer with the team. He is a running back in this draft class, not named Saquon Barkley, so that's a good thing also for him because everybody and their brother is going to be drafting Saquon. Yes. We were just talking about this. I said Saquon's ADP right now in redraft is going as high as 106, as low as like 112. So, which, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott did the same thing. So it has been proven. Fournette was right around there. So I'm just saying it happens, but I'm just saying this is somebody that you can get later in the draft and still get maybe like, I'm not saying he's Alvin Kamara, but I'm saying the type of potential that Alvin Kamara brought to the table last year, where you draft him way late or pick him up off of waivers, and then he just starts blowing up.
And like I said, there's going to be a lot of value at the running back position.
Oh, yeah.
Here.
It's actually a lot deeper than most people think that it is. I think people think, it's just the top 4 running backs, and then it's kind of a wash after that, which it can be, but if you look, it's kind of like the guys outside of that all have something that potentially could hold them back, but it's your personal preference as to what you're going to want to wager in and kind of roll the dice on. So now, 74% of the carries are no longer on the team, which was C.J. Anderson, which is just saying. And he has the chance to be that bell cow in an improved offense that they brought in to be there. I mean, with Keenum, they've drafted plenty of wide receivers with Sutton and I just drew a blank on the other guy they brought in. But Sutton was the big one that they brought in. And, it was a kid out of Penn State.
I've got a name on top of my head.
Is it Denarius or Demarius? Not Demarius.
Is it Hamilton?
Hamilton.
Okay.
Deshaun Hamilton.
Yep.
There you go. Deshaun Hamilton. I wanted to say Denarius, but that's Demarius Thomas is what I was thinking about. So they're definitely going to throw the ball a little bit more, but I think that he has the potential to be the bell cow, and he is a bigger back, so I think he can be what you need him to be, that 3-down back. So I think his biggest feat is going to be stepping over the guys that are currently there with Booker. So,
Right.
Booker, I think, was kind of slated to be the potential starting running back. So I think his biggest thing is to basically beat out the veterans in the group. But I think once he does, he just won't look back, in my opinion. So,
Yeah, he said it, like I said, it's not a good landing spot for him.
right. So, all right. Who is your best for this segment?
Well, I went with a friend of the show.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, DJ Moore.
I'm not surprised. He did fall into a nice little spot there in Carolina. Not to Dallas like I was hoping, but Carolina not bad.
Right, yeah, and like we were talking about off the show, he's going to be paired up with Funches as the number 2, but
Right.
he could very well, by the year's end, be the number 1 guy
Right.
there.
And going forward, be the number 1 guy.
Right, so I have a little bit of his stats. He had 80 receptions and for a little over 1,000 yards,
Yeah.
but he did that with a revolving door quarterback.
Correct.
So,
Well, go ahead. No, go ahead.
So what also makes him very intriguing to me is that he can play all the positions.
Yes.
So he's not limited to just that one package, that one kind of formation. They're going to line him up and play him everywhere, which means the volume's going to be there, and that's what you want when you're taking a guy. If you think he's like a wide receiver 2,
Yeah.
that's what you want. You want volume.
Yeah, I think that it speaks volume, and this is why we were saying that he is the best wide receiver in the draft class at this point, based on what you've seen, the body of work coming out. Nothing against Calvin Ridley. I think he's great, and I think that he's going to be good there in Atlanta. I'm just saying I don't think that Ridley could do the same things that DJ Moore did with the revolving door at Maryland.
Right.
Now, if you put DJ Moore in that Alabama offense, we might not even be talking about who this Ridley guy is. It's DJ Moore.
I agree.
DJ Moore might be like a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
I'm just saying he's got that. It's just you saw what an elite wide receiver can do in an Alabama Saban offense. Julio Jones, prime example. I'm just saying Ridley is not bad. Nothing against him. I'm not saying that he's a horrible wide receiver or anything. I just think that DJ Moore proved that he can play all over the field, like you said, and he can play with regardless of whatever quarterback is in there. And another guy in the NFL who's proved last year that could do that as well? Hopkins. Hopkins did that with multiple quarterbacks last year and still was the guy and still finished where he finished. I just don't think that if Calvin Ridley got the same treatment at Maryland that DJ Moore did, that he would still be hitting the numbers that DJ did.
Right.
Just saying.
And see, if DJ would have went to Atlanta, again, there's so many options there. He would have been. He still would have been a productive player, but not at what I think he's going to be in Carolina.
I think he could be the guy by, like you said, by season end. So I'm on board with that, and I think that's a good spot. And I was glad to see. It was bumming that he didn't go to Dallas. We really thought he was going to. I thought he was going to fall there, but it didn't work out. It's all right, no big deal. I'll still root for him. So
There you go.
So now for worst, my worst, and it's not the player. I just want people to know when we say best, worst, it's not on the player. It's the player with the team.
Right.
And this is specifically redraft, not dynasty, years over years. But for this year specifically, Mike Gesicki is my worst, and he's the tight end out of Penn State. So he went to the Miami Dolphins, which don't get me started with that. His current ADP is not available at this very moment because he's just not being drafted in mock drafts at this moment, which is not surprising. It's a tight end.
Right.
If your name's not Kelsey or Gronk or one of the other guys that are right on that tier 2 group, not many people are drafting you.
Right.
Sorry. But I got my notes. I got a horrible QB situation in Miami. It is awful.
It's terrible.
It's literally it's like the brother and the ugly brother. They're both just big goons. Nothing against them. Personally, but
So it's like the Step Brothers.
it's the
cast.
Step Brothers. It's literally the Step Brothers
so
right
many
there.
activities.
Right. Did we just become best friends? It's like they look at each other. It's like that what do you want to call it? The Spider-Man where he's standing outside the van, the comic,
Yep.
and it's like pointing. It's Osweiler and Tannehill pointing at each other like, hey, type thing. So either way, both are garbage.
Yeah.
So and I'm sorry. And Landry apparently saw the writing on the wall and was like, whoa, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
So which by the way, we were all joking. People were making comments, oh, he's going to Cleveland. Well, Cleveland's not looking too bad at this very moment
No,
compared to
not at all.
Miami's situation. So But typically, rookie tight ends don't do much, as we've seen in the past, unless they have the right situation and or quarterback, like Evan Ingram last year. Right situation. It wasn't looking too good just because of the depth at the wide receivers that they had at the moment with Odell, Brandon Marshall, and Shepard. Obviously, we know Odell went down with an injury. Brandon Marshall went down for an injury. And then Ingram just blew it up. And Eli just threw the ball a ton, which that's just Eli.
And again, he's an established quarterback.
Correct.
So
it wasn't a young or horrible quarterback.
You're not going to that Rumpke situation.
Right. It is a horrible situation. I'm sorry for all you Miami fans. It's going to be a long season to watch. Now, fantasy-wise, it might be okay, but overall, NFL purposes, I wouldn't buy a Sunday ticket if you don't live in Miami and watch them.
The only silver lining for him, at least in my opinion, is they have no identity right now on offense. They don't really know what they want to do.
True.
So he might sneak in as a decent play if that's the way the offense goes, is they just want to dump it to the tight end. But you're right. Rookie tight ends don't come in and put up the big fantasy numbers like you want to see.
So the other notes I have, he's a red zone only target. He's not much of a blocker. He's kind of a tight end wide receiver hybrid at 6'5". So at Penn State he kind of lined up in the wide receiver at times with them. So, but now based on your point, I did put that he could be something based on athletic abilities alone. But we will need to know who the 2018 Miami Dolphins truly are before investing in this. And so that's why I currently have him as the worst. And it's not because I think he's not talented. I will tell you, as a Buckeye fan, I've watched him play in the Big Ten, and he is a talented guy, and he is going to be somebody special long term. However, the problem is he went to a team that's not very good, and I just think that there's not, like we said, we just don't know what we're going to get with the Miami Dolphins of 2018. Truly. Adam Gase is probably going to try to use him in some fashion. I just don't know how talented that team's really going to be going forward. So,
if it was a dynasty league, he's got value because you just you store him.
Right.
And hopefully, like you said, in a couple of years, hopefully you know what you got there.
Maybe next year or in 2, you've got somebody worthwhile that's going to be up there in that top 10 tight end talk for sure. But at the moment, I just don't know what you're getting into with the offense. So.
Agreed.
All right. So who is your worst draft-wise?
Mine is DJ Chark out of LSU.
Yes.
Now, again, it's not the player. It's just for redraft value. That's all
Correct.
it is. So, for me, he's going on an offense in Jacksonville. But let's be honest, it's a run first. I mean,
they are when they said that they didn't want Hearns or Robinson back.
And again, I'm not exactly thrilled with their quarterback situation in Blake Bortles.
Yeah, that's okay. I wouldn't pronounce his name correctly
Right.
either. He's horrible.
Then he's got to fight for targets. I mean, you got Lewis, Moncrief, Westbrook, and Keenan Cole are still there.
And they were all there. I mean, Keenan Cole he blew it up at times last year. Westbrook played really well at times. So
I just think the problem is I wouldn't want to have to pick that guy, that wide receiver. Who is it going to be that week?
It's a crapshoot.
Yep. They're just rolling the dice, and whoever it lands on, that's the guy this week.
If your name's not Leonard Fournette, I'm not sure I'm going to be weekly excited to play any of the players on that Jaguars offense. Not anything against Bortles. I think Bortles is a sufficient fantasy quarterback and can be great at times, but also can see the bottom fall right out. And I just don't know. I think that this offense, and I think what was successful for him last year was the fact that Bortles was playing from behind a lot.
Yep.
And they had to throw the ball more, and they had what kept Fournette value-wise is because when they got within the 20, they were just running the ball down people's throats. But getting down the field, they were down a lot, so they had to throw the ball, which is the value-wise for a quarterback. If the quarterback is garbage or the offense is garbage, you got to bank that he's going to be throwing the ball a ton because they're behind. I just think that this Jaguars offense is going to be better. I know it doesn't look like it, but I think that they're going to be better with the defense paired up, and I think they're going to be in a lot more closer games, which means I think they're going to rely heavier on Fournette's abilities, in my opinion.
Well, it's going to be Fournette all day.
Right. So.
I mean, I think if Fournette, they'd let him throw the ball, they'd let him throw the ball.
Right. If he could. Now, I will say, though, when looking up at his matchups and height, weight, and all that stuff, he is very similar to an Allen Robinson type frame.
Right.
So, could he be something? Yes, years down the road, but immediately in the immediate future, no, I'm not drafting him in my redraft league as a fantasy rookie,
right.
Wide receiver wise.
And I agree. That's the same point we just had. Just the player before was, it's a redraft. Don't touch him in a redraft. I don't think he's got any value right now.
Right.
Long term,
Now,
you can wait and see.
Now, if a couple wide receivers go down with injuries and stuff, and he moves into that wide receiver 2 kind of talk within the depth chart, then yeah, maybe he's got some sort of value on volume alone. But ultimately, where he's sitting at, he's competing for like wide receiver 3, 4 right now at this very moment. But that's just me.
Listen, if you could tell me what receivers are going to go down, I'd know what to play. Like,
Right.
Does this fate ball here tell me?
Right. Shake it. What does it tell me?
Right now, it's telling me do not draft DJ Chark.
Do not draft DJ Chark in your redraft leagues. That's what it's saying. Definitely. All right. So, did you have anything else on him, or was that pretty much it?
That's pretty much it.
Okay.
That's a wrap on him.
Yeah. I will say, though, there was somebody in the fantasy football community that I chat with daily. I can't remember exactly who it was. So, if you're listening later on and you want to give me a shout out on Twitter on the when the tweet goes out for the show dropping and say, hey, I'm the one that said it, I will gladly give you all the applause. I just can't honestly remember your name at the moment. But he did say Chark Week. It's going to be Chark Week. I did appreciate that. Man, that is a good one. So credit to that guy. Like I said, I'm sorry if I can't remember who it is. But all right, so moving on. Sleeper-wise, my sleeper is Michael Gallup, the wide receiver out of Colorado State, drafted by the Dallas Cowboys. So current ADP obviously is an NA because it just is. He's not getting drafted at the moment in redrafts, but he's coming off of a very productive last 2 seasons at Colorado State with almost 2,700 receiving yards and 21 receiving touchdowns. Has been mentioned by many people within the NFL draft scouting group, saying that he's kind of a poor man's version of DJ Moore, which is not a slap in the face to him. It's just saying DJ Moore is very talented, and he's kind of like the lesser of the two, not like talent-wise, but I think you can get what you're trying. You can almost get what you're getting out of DJ Moore from this guy.
It probably explains why Dallas waited then.
True. Now I will say that there is no more Dez. Obviously, there is no more Witten at the very moment. Now, obviously, he could come back within a week and say, "Yeah, I'm good," but I'm just banking on that he's not coming back. But Gallup has the potential if he makes the transition to the NFL. I think he has the potential to be a wide receiver 1 in Dallas by the mid to late end of this season. I'm not saying that it's guaranteed, but there's so much potential upside for him in this offense as a wide receiver coming in because, I mean, outside of that, Dak is established. You're not breaking Dak down. You're not taking Dak's job. Right. You're not taking Ezekiel Elliott's job. Sorry, Bo Scarborough. Nothing against you. I think you're insurance for if something were to happen to Zeke.
Right.
But ultimately, there's really no set, like we've said, no set wide receiver 1 right now. It's a bunch of I don't want to say misfits, but it's a lot of I don't know how you want to put it, just a lot of wide receiver 2s and 3s that are going to try to be wide receiver 1.
It's just what we talked about earlier. He went into a perfect situation. Alan Hearns has not established himself as the number 1.
No.
I mean, he's not, he hasn't put his stamp on it yet, so he could very well, do well early, do well in camp, and be their number 1.
Right. Now, I will say he is walking into a very similar situation that Dez did his rookie year, but before I say that, 239 targets out of 438 total for the team, which was Dez and Witten, which is just shy of 50%, is gone. So 50% of the targets are gone. It's up in the air of who's going to take it now. So, but like I said, walking into a similar situation that Dez did his rookie year, and that was in 2010. This is the team, roster-wise. Dez, Miles Austin, Roy Williams, who was like 30, Sam Hurd, Kevin Ogletree, Jason Witten, and Martellus Bennett. Now, this year's team, with Gallup, you've got Alan Hearns, Terrence Williams, Cole Beasley, Noah Brown, Deontay Thompson, Jeff Swaim, Rico Gathers, and Dalton Schultz was drafted this year.
Rico Gathers.
Rico Suave. Anyways, I'm just saying, so you see there's not really any names that are jumping off the pages. However, I will tell you that if your boy Jason Witten ain't coming back, Rico Gathers is probably the only tight end that I'm going to be taking out of that Dallas depth chart. Just because of his preseason, which you saw, and he's a former basketball player. So
I just want to say Rico every week. So
Rico.
I hope it's him.
So ultimately, I just think he's got a very high upside potential as to what he could be going into by the end of the season. I think he could be somebody worthwhile. I'm not saying the first couple weeks, but I'm just saying kind of keep an eye on how Dallas's offense in the pass game goes, and he might be somebody that pops up later, mid to late season. So
I like it.
All right, what do you got as your final guy for the sleepers?
My final guy is going to be Ronald Jones II out of USC.
So is he RJ the second? Like RG3?
I guess.
RJ the second?
RJ2? Didn't put it that way, but yeah.
Kind of like R2D2, but he's RG2? No?
Sure.
Anyways, go ahead. I tried to make something there, and it wasn't. Story of my life.
I was
Go ahead.
trying to pick up on it, but I was like, yeah, I don't know
No,
where to
that's
go
all
with
right.
this.
I'm on my own.
All right. So really what I like about him is, again, it's going to be the volume aspect of this. So Doug Martin's gone. That muscle hamster's out.
Yes.
He's competing with Peyton Barber and Charles Sims.
Right.
I don't really think it's much of a competition. I think he's going to come in and take the job. I mean, he's a versatile running back and can catch the ball out of the backfield.
I think that's what they're needing. They need somebody who can do both.
Right. And actually, I mean, there's rumor. I mean, I was reading a bunch of stuff. They think maybe he's the best pass catching running back
I wouldn't
in this
doubt
draft.
it.
So.
I mean, I just feel like you're getting somebody who is going to be talented, and they've been looking since Doug Martin's ups and downs. They've been trying to find somebody to plug in there, and it's just not worked out. Or they've got a running back that could do one thing but not the other, and then another running back who can be the ground and pound guy, and then another guy who's the pass catching. Most NFL teams want one guy. They want one guy they can rely on completely, so that way they don't have to do any type of change of pace or any type of like rotation of man in, man out, tag you're in. It's a pass down now. We know that so-and-so's coming in. Well, more than likely, it's a pass down. So that's my point. I think they want somebody who can be there, and I think they want a true running back to kind of take the pressure off of Winston.
Right. No, and that's in my notes here. I had it that his pass catching abilities make him the third down. He can be all three
right,
downs. So.
Which is a good thing. This is what you want.
Right.
So I think it's a good thing because when Doug Martin was successful and doing well, that was the year that Winston was doing well. That was the year that Mike Evans was doing well. And I think that if anyone says that a run game is not necessary, unless your name is Aaron Rodgers, is a joke. Aaron Rodgers is like the only quarterback I know currently in the NFL, minus Drew Brees, I guess, till the last couple of years when they had Ingram and Kamara last year together, has proven that you need some sort of run game to offset in some fashion. Aaron Rodgers is the only one that's defied that law by any means, and Drew Brees early on in his career. Tom Brady has had running backs at times. I'm not saying they're the best of the best, but he has had some sort of run game to kind of offset. But like I said, it's not like the great. I mean, Deion Lewis, White, and all these guys aren't like top-tier guys, but I'm just saying he had some sort of run game to offset him passing thousands upon thousands of times. Aaron Rodgers has proven that I'm just going to throw the ball, regardless if I got a running back, broke down line, nothing. I'm still throwing the ball a bunch, and I'm going to win the game. Yeah. So I think this is a good thing for a guy who's kind of in the hot seat transitioning out year for Winston.
Right.
Because the writing's on the wall for Winston. If he's not going to do something this year, they'll just move on next year into the draft and start over.
Yeah, I mean, I hope they don't. They've invested a lot in him, so.
They have, but I also know they picked up his fifth-year option. So he's in his fourth year right now. So fifth year will be next year, which means they could potentially opt out at any point if they wanted to. Cap-wise, I think it takes less money off the cap and things like that. But I think it's a good thing that they brought in. They went and did what they needed to do. Yeah. Brought in a running back, honestly. Yeah. I think people were kind of bummed wishing they would have taken Geis or somebody else a little bit more farther up in their mind, the bell cow type running back. But I think they need a guy who can do both.
Right, and that's the downfall for him. Is I don't know if he'll be able to. He's still going to split carries.
He is.
He's just going to have the higher of the volume, which I think he could sneak in and be a low end RB2. So
I think he can. I mean, I know we keep going back to the Kamara situation. Kamara proved that you can be in as a NFL running backfield with another solid running back and still get under 50% of the carries, under 50% of the snaps, and still be a top 6 running back.
Right.
I mean, he actually beat out Mark Ingram in fantasy football, and Mark Ingram had more carries, more touches, more snaps. So it's more or less what you do with what you got. I mean, at 40-some% of the snaps, it's pretty close to the 50 mark. It's not like right on, but if he's seeing 45 to 50% of the snaps, I'm expecting him to be in that running back 2 group. He should be. Now, can he get into that running back 1 group? Potentially. I mean, Kamara has defied that's not possible, but
well, see, with Kamara though, it's the touchdowns.
Right.
That's where Ronald Jones will have to get to if he wants to get.
But I kind of see Kamara and Ronald Jones kind of being the same thing where
they're
both
comparable. But to be a split back to get to the number 1, you're gonna have to have touchdowns behind you.
Right. You've got to have yards and touchdowns, and I think that's where we'll see how that goes. But I think ultimately, they're going to give him a shot to be the guy. Yeah. Ultimately, so
he could be a PPR monster too.
He could be. I mean, he can kind of be in that Chris Thompson kind of thing where they're just that's their bread and butter. They're catching out of the backfield. They're running for 20 yards at a time or 10 yards at a time in a catch, or 15 yards and a touchdown or makes a guy miss. I mean, he's got the ability in the open field to make somebody miss and take off for the touchdown. So we shall see.
Oh, yeah.
But all right. Well, I think that's all we got for today. Just
Blackburn, you got anything? No?
No?
No.
I haven't decided if I'm going to.
He's been so quiet today.
I know. I haven't decided if I'm going to put him in there digitally or not, just to mess with people. But yeah, we just want to tell you guys thanks for all of you for tuning in to today's show. You can check out the page, thehateful8ff.com, where you can check out articles. We've got 2 of them dropped right now just recently with it's the NFL winners and losers post NFL draft. So Evan dropped out his one for last week on the NFC East. And Frank just dropped one in today. Frank the Tank. He just dropped one in today for the NFC North. So check those out. Definitely a lot of fantasy knowledge brought in there to kind of help you out. So
those are the best articles right there.
I love them. So,
I do too.
But also we got apparel. You can follow the page though. Our personal accounts at jpickle_th8ff, at jblackburn_th8ff, and at ftrimth8ff. Don't forget to join the Average Joe Nation via our Patreon tab on the site. That's where you can sign up and pre-order the 2018 draft loadout, which is currently being built from the ground up at this very moment.
You're going to want in on this.
You very much are going to want in on this one. So, as well as, and you can also sign up for in-season weekly help once that starts. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. Well, thanks again, and we will see you guys next week.
One more time. There ain't no one like these 3. You know you just heard Pickle, Blackburn, and Trimboli. Give the goods talking about nothing but fantasy football. Yeah, it's your year to dominate and to wear that ring. Prepare for the draft and dial in on your craft. Quarterback, the first round is a good choice, you ask? This guy's got first round pick, a favorite? Not so fast. He failed to tune into Hateful Eight. He's a chump finishing last.